Let's begin with Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, and how he approached race. For someone living in the early 1800s, Smith's views and actions on race were at times surprisingly progressive. During the 1830s and 1840s, when slavery was still widespread in the United States, Joseph Smith ordained at least 2 black men to the LDS priesthood, Elijah Abel and Q. Walker Lewis, and possibly a third man, a man known as Black Pete. This priesthood gave them the ability to perform religious rituals, lead congregations, and even serve as missionaries, which Elijah Abel did. Elijah Abel's story stands out. He was a devoted member of the church who served multiple missions and remained active in the faith for the rest of his life. Then there's Jane Elizabeth Manning James, a black convert who walked roughly 800 miles to join the Latter-day Saints in Nauvoo, Illinois in 1842. Joseph Smith welcomed her into his own home, where she worked as a domestic servant until his death in 1844. She stayed committed to the church for decades, despite repeatedly being denied access to its most sacred temple rituals, ceremonies that Mormons believe are essential for eternal salvation. It wasn't until 1894, near the end of her life, that Jane was finally granted permission to receive those ordinances. But instead of attending the temple herself, others performed the rites on her behalf because she wasn't allowed to go. And rather than being sealed or spiritually bound to Joseph Smith as a fellow believer or a family member, she was sealed to him as a servant. Not a symbolic servant, literally a servant in the afterlife. Later in his life, Joseph Smith also publicly opposed slavery. In fact, during his brief campaign for U.S. president in 1844, he ran on an anti-slavery platform. But despite these actions, he never laid down a clear church-wide policy on race and priesthood, a silence that became significant. After his death, future leaders would interpret that ambiguity in very different ways.